Well, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the Educational Grand Rounds from St. Clair. I'm sitting in today for Jim Ellermeyer. My name is Sven Hosford, and one of the regulars here, and I'm joined today by...
Julie Spihar.
And you're from where and do what?
I'm sorry. I'm a PA student from Mount Union University.
Oh, where is Mount Union?
Alliance, Ohio.
Oh, okay, great. And also?
My name is Sarah Gennady. I'm a physician assistant student from St. Francis University.
Great. And we have a real interesting topic today and a super special guest. We have with us Janelle Pica of Primal Fitness Pittsburgh, and she wrote an article on robwolf.com. That's R-O-B-B wolf.com. He is a paleo aficionado and promoter, and she wrote an article about her adventures with Hashimodo's thyroiditis. Did I get that about right, Janelle?
You got it right. That's how you pronounce that, yeah.
Super. Well, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we met a couple weeks ago at the Wellness Meet and Greet down there at the Pittsburgh Public Market, and you did a great little pop-up podcast with us there all about the kettlebells, and you're just so vibrant and you just exude all this energy. So I was really surprised to know that you had an autoimmune condition. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie and let her ask you about what you went through.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Janelle. Can you please describe to us what Hashimoto's thyroiditis is?
Yeah. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is actually an autoimmune-related metabolic problem that you can have with your thyroid gland. So, in short, what happens is your body's you start to get what we call like start to build up antibodies in your body from just being like allergic to certain foods or things like that, or going through a stressful situation. There's something in there that like just triggers this response where you'll have these pathogens that actually come in and just start to attack your thyroid gland. And it causes a lot of metabolic disturbances within your body. You can, when I first came down with the problem, I didn't even know what was wrong with me, to be honest with you. I lost like 12 pounds in 2 weeks without exercising. My hair was falling out, and my heart rate was really high, like in the hundreds, like every single day. And you know, my eyes were bugging out. It was just a really crazy, you know, problem I had. I got back from college after my sophomore year and went home. My dad's a physician, and he took one look at me and thought like that there was just something wrong. Like there was just something really metabolically wrong with me. So he took me to an endocrinologist who had diagnosed me with that problem. I had very high levels of thyroid antibodies in my system. I also had my TSH levels, my thyroid stimulating hormone, at the time was through the roof. So I had actually hyperthyroid problems coming down my line at that point. Now, the other end of the spectrum, though, is when once your body starts to fire its autoimmune response to stop this from happening, it's really just trying to heal itself, your metabolism then goes into a downward spiral from there. Your thyroid controls all of your like metabolic rates, this tiny little butterfly-looking thing in your neck, right? So to compensate for this metabolic overdrive that you've had, it starts to downregulate all your thyroid hormones and everything from there, which then slows your metabolic rate, and then you can, you know, gain weight, feel really, really fatigued. And to kind of even out your immune system, it just stops fighting off, your immune system just stops fighting off every other little pathogen that may come your way. So I was constantly getting sick all the time. I had no energy. I started having like nodules that my doctor had found on my thyroid that were growing and things like that. So it was not good. It's sets you up for long-term like weight-related problems, metabolic problems, and other diseases that can come down your pipe. There's a lot of other autoimmune problems you can have if you don't correct something like this. So it was just a really big, really not fun time for me for a couple of years trying to figure out why this was happening to me, what went wrong, and why at such a young age I was dealing with something like this. So yeah, I was like, I think I was 19 when I actually started coming down with this problem. So, and I'm 27 now. Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, that's what that is. So.
Okay. Now, do you know how common this condition is and who usually is affected by it?
How common? I don't know, because I think Americans tend to have become diagnosed with hypothyroidism. What can cause that is Hashimoto's. So how common is it? It's hard to say, because I'm not sure if a lot of people actually catch Hashimoto's until they become hypothyroid. So I personally believe that it is more common than what's than what it's being diagnosed as. Most of the people that I'm aware of that have this problem, I mean, it doesn't really range really. It's not like a female versus male problem. It's just kind of across the board. So, but yeah, I think it's a lot more common than what people actually realize until they, like I said, already have their metabolism shut down and they find out that their antibodies are through the roof, or they have nodules or something like that. So.
Okay. Now, can you also tell us what are the causes of Hashimoto's thyroiditis?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because I've tried to figure that out. I was trying to figure that out for a number of years until, I kind of found a solution to the problem. There are a couple of main triggers, I think, with the disorder, right? One, there is some type of a genetic component to it where thyroid disease may run in families. My father, for example, is hypothyroid, okay? He had Hashimoto. Well, he missed the whole boat of like his autoimmune issue, but his thyroid shut down, I think, when he was in his 40s, and he had no clue what was wrong with him. He gained a ton of weight and everything, so that's what it was. My mother also has that, and she's also diabetic, so it may run in families like that. And there's other things, though, that I think go into it. There is some sort of a link with like the stress response in the body and creating an autoimmune, flare up in people. There's also dietary things to take into consideration with autoimmune problems. So I found, just looking it up really, that certain things that I was eating at the time could actually cause, an allergic response in the body that could trigger these sorts of problems. So normally when you think autoimmune problems, you think of things like digestive problems, like you think of things like celiac disease. But there is some sort of a link between the overingestion of gluten and soy and certain homogenized dairy products that can lead to other autoimmune problems. And I've seen that. I've seen the research back that up with thyroid-related disorders as well. So that's what I came up with. I actually got a new doctor when I was originally diagnosed, and she actually worked out of Pittsburgh, who was at the time doing some research, nutritional research, with her patients in order to treat the autoimmune-related and other thyroid problems, and she was getting some success with it. So she was actually the one that kind of told me about changing some dietary habits, and then I kind of took flight with that and did some own research and tried a whole bunch of different things to fix the problem. So yeah.
Okay. Now, did you notice any kind of triggers or anything that aggravated your symptoms, kind of making them worse at all?
It was really on my own terms. What I decided to do was just, one, try to keep myself as calm as possible. Right, so I ended up getting myself kind of embarrassing, but I was so shocked by what was happening to myself. I ended up hiring a therapist to help coach me through this issue I was having, because a lot of people and doctors were just at the beginning of it thought I was completely nuts that I was coming down with all these problems. You get written off with. The very first doctor that I ever saw with this problem told me that I was going to have to wait 10 years for my thyroid to shut down and then give me medication. And I just was like, that's kind of a crap diagnosis. So I don't really want to wait 10 years and feel this bad. But it put me in a mental depressed funk for a long time. So I worked on stress management with my therapist, but I also, after diving in with my second doctor who told me to look at some nutritional things, noticed that I was reacting poorly to certain foods that I was ingesting that I thought were totally fine, just from a health perspective, but they weren't if you were, sensitive to them. So I cut out I cut out all gluten, honestly, and for a good time I cut out all dairy products, and anything that had like raw soy in it and things like that. So, which I was eating a ton of at the time, and I didn't even realize that that was bad, you know, for me.
Yeah.
So, and you know, there's a lot of like gluten, like raw soy and all that stuff in a lot of the food that we eat, and it's not particularly healthy for people, and they come down with these problems and they don't even realize that they're ingesting this stuff, and it just kind of builds up over time, you know. So I found that by cutting out those 3 things, a lot of my energy started to pick up. My body over time began to like just kind of heal itself there, you know. So my energy picked up, and within a year, my antibody levels had dropped to what my doctor called like near negligible numbers. I had like almost 0, you know. And what was very interesting was the nodules that I had that were growing actually shrunk, and she couldn't even really detect them at that point. So it was quite a cool thing to see happen after just like remaining patient, remaining calm, and changing some things on my own end. So, yep.
Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Sarah. She wants to ask some questions about just this, is like how you cured yourself, what were the things you tried, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Hi, Janelle. So you just said that you use stress management techniques. What types of things did you do to manage your stress?
You know, a lot of it was just, it sounds like corny, but like a lot of it was deep meditation. I would do it like religiously, you know, twice a day, yeah, like mid-morning and then right before bed and stuff like that. And I was doing a lot of, I would actually visualize just being healthy, you know, visualizing like not having this problem, things like that, and just getting myself to a point where I would be vibrant and healthy and things like that, and very energetic. And now, you know, and I still do that. I still do that to this day. And that's probably why I have so much energy. You know, just get that. You know.
This is a psychiatric office that uses mindfulness as the core of everything else we do. So to say that you meditate twice a day is not corny at all. It's actually what we teach our clients here.
Yeah. No, but it's really, I was just talking with you about this earlier, right, about the stress response. If you have too much cortisol in your system, right, your body can't heal. It's totally inflamed. Then if you have an inflammatory condition to begin with and you cause yourself more inflammation, right, you're not going to heal. You're actually going to make the problem all the worse. So it was like really adamant for me to be on that and things like that. My therapist actually had pointed that out to me. So I took it very, very seriously, you know. A lot of people are like, oh, meditation, that's not going to help you. No, it really did. It really did. So that was something I was really adamant about. And then, again, the dietary stuff. So,
So you've been speaking about dietary changes that you made to help your condition, and I read in your article that you took on the Paleo diet. So
I did, yeah.
Explain what that is a little bit and how you think that helped your condition.
Sure. Well, Paleo diet gets this like reputation of being like a caveman diet, right? So that's the best way I can describe it. It is a grain-free diet and it's a dairy-free diet. Okay. So you're not eating a lot of processed foods. You're not eating a lot of even if it's like whole baked goods, things like that. So no whole grain breads, things like that, no pasta, all that. Just cut out all like gluten. Period. And then you're gonna eat a lot of like lean sources of proteins. I went the extra mile to make sure that I got to a local source for those too. So I was doing a lot of like grass-fed beefs, things like that, like farm-raised chickens, eggs, things like that from people that I knew, and a lot of produce, like a lot of fruits, veggies, and healthy fats, things like nuts, avocados, and stuff like that. It's a really basic diet. It's really, really basic. But cutting out that excess, like just cutting out processed foods, cutting out the gluten intake, and really like just not ingesting dairy for a while, like had done numbers for my health. Over time too, I was able to add back in like raw sources of dairy, so I can eat like raw cheese now. It doesn't really give me a problem, or even like some like grass-fed butter doesn't bother me or anything like that. So I can tolerate things like that now that used to give me a problem and things like that. So it was really, really cool to go through that. But yeah, that's what I do. It's a paleo diet. You can read about that on Rob Wolf's site, or there's other websites like balancebites.com. They all are proficient in that type of a diet there.
So I read that you do the kettlebell exercises.
Yeah, kettlebell. Yep. That's okay. A lot of people call them kettlebell.
Kettlebell's a caveman workout.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So do you think that helped you with your condition to get healthier at all? Do you think that contributed?
You know, here's something people don't talk about a lot with exercise, and I chose kettlebell training for 2 reasons, really. One, I used to play basketball, okay, but I had a lot of, I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of joint pain once I hit 19, 20 from running all the time as a teenager. So I would try to run, and like my body just did not, was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I also think because I had this autoimmune issue that I was trying to like correct, I just had this base level of inflammation in my body that, you know, was just not getting out of my system at the time. So it was just not good for me to do that. So I looked online. I believe I was on some web forum, and there was a man on there talking about, I was Google searching a different way to exercise beyond running, and he talked about kettlebell training being really good for the joints that would give you a style of exercise where, 1, you can get a cardiovascular workout, and 2, increase your strength at the same time. So it's really time efficient. So I was like, well, that's great because I have shoddy knees right now. Like, I'm going to go do that. And I ended up falling in love with it. It was just a really cool way for me to exercise. Now, the other thing that I chose that style of training for as well was there, because of, it actually was designed in a way that it would cut your exercise time down, which meant you would be less likely to create an excessive inflammatory response in your body. Exercise is stressful on the body, right? And I noticed that I just didn't feel right, or I was running too much at one point in my life, or like trying to get back into it, and like I was doing too much wear and tear on my body. So it was a unique way and style of exercise that would give you the benefit without exacerbating or like creating an overly outrageous stress response in the system as well. So it was cool. Like, it was just the perfect thing that I needed at that point. So, but yeah, I think that style of training just, 1, gave me mental peace of mind that I could do something again, and 2, but it made me feel like so invigorated and really just helped me get back in shape in a manner that it probably, you know, just aided my overall health all the more. So yeah.
So do you have any advice for people that are, you know, the people that are struggling with Hashimoto's, about if they want to start the paleo diet, or just anything you have to say about it that would help other people get through what you got through?
You know, I just got a message from somebody today, really, on my Facebook business page about how she found my story on Rob Wolf's website. It was this tearjerker message, and that it felt like I was like reading her life story right back to her or something, you know. And I think the best advice I can give people is that, you know, it's a process. You're not going to get over this problem in a couple of weeks. You know, it takes a while for your body to reset itself. I didn't feel good, honestly, until correcting all these things for about 1.5 years. Until like I healed out and stuff like that. So you really have to be patient. You really have to do your homework and be consistent and stuff like that. It's not a linear process for health. You're going to have really great days. Then you may be like, it can feel like 2 steps forwards and 5 steps back sometimes until your body really evens out. So patience and consistency are like really important. I will also say though, like when on terms of the diet and stuff like that, I would really encourage people like to watch, even if they don't do the paleo diet, but to really watch like eating raw soy, because it's in everything. That stuff is really not good for your thyroid. It causes a lot of imbalances with your estrogen levels and things like that. And raw soy, that is like not fermented soy, like the raw white stuff, actually has been proven to cause hypothyroidism because raw soy has toxins in it that can shut down the thyroid gland specifically. So I am not an advocate of really eating any soy anything. So like, you know, so that's one thing I would say. But I truly believe if you have an autoimmune problem and you follow the paleo diet, you know, for an extended period of time, I would be shocked if it didn't do something for you. You know, there have been cases on Rob Wolf's website too, where there have been people that have really helped manage their MS symptoms and stuff like that eating this way. So I think it's a really useful tool. Mm-hmm.
Any of you guys have any other questions?
No, she pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, honestly, Janelle, that was awesome. Really, a ton of great information. And just so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, your company is Primal Fitness Pittsburgh, is that right?
You got it. Yep, you can email me, Janelle, at primalfitnesspittsburgh.com.
And what all, besides the kettlebell training, do you do any other kind of coaching or training?
Yeah, I'm also a certified Primal Move instructor, which is a low-level body weight mobility style of exercise that's really geared towards getting people out of joint pain, okay? Because I have some clients that are not quite ready to lift yet. And that's okay. So we work on their movement patterns and set themselves up so they can go into the kettlebell training. I also just hired on a part-time trainer, my guy Ryan. So he teaches something called progressive calisthenics. So he does a little bit more demanding strength training with the body weight work, but it's amazing how that's been, taking off and everything like that. So he teaches more of like bar training in terms of pull-ups, dips. He's getting into handstand progressions. These quirky little pistol squat things, he's great. So we've got I think, multifaceted functional fitness theme there that's really based on setting the body up to do a lot of high volume strength training in a manner that's a lot more sustainable for people in the long term. So
that's great information. And
yeah.
Really appreciate you being with us today.
I appreciate you people. So.
And again, just remember that mental health and physical health go hand in hand. So there's no shame necessary in going to a therapist. It's actually what probably most people want to make as their first step. Try to get their mind right before they get into the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I also want to thank my two cohorts in crime here. And I believe you got a little note for us to close us out.
To continue the conversation, please like us on Facebook, also on Google+, or follow us on Twitter under Seclair Life, and keep an eye out for any of these on our next live recording on Mondays around noon to ask your own questions. You can also find other Grand Rounds on youtube.com/SeclairVideo, and find audio versions on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. And please visit us at www.seclair.com for more about us and other articles on our great blog.
That's it. Thanks again. Take care, everybody.